Captain Marcus Reed stood on the bridge of the Defiance and watched death approach his home. Through the metal windows, he could see thousands of alien ships. They filled the space around Kepler station like angry insects around a hive. "Sir, they're sending another message," said Commander Elena Voss. Her voice was calm, but Marcus could see fear in her eyes. "Put it through," Marcus said. The voice that came through the speakers was cold and mechanical. It belonged to Admiral Krix of the Vrak Empire. "Humans of Kepler Station, this is your final warning. Surrender now or face complete destruction. You have 1 hour to decide." Marcus looked around his bridge. His crew was small now. Only 43 people left on the ship that once carried 300. The war had taken so many friends, so many good people. "Tom, how are our weapons?" Marcus asked. Chief Engineer Tom Blake wiped grease from his hands. "Not good, Captain. We have maybe 6 missiles left. The main guns are working, but barely. The power core is damaged." Marcus nodded. He had expected this. They had been fighting for 3 years. 3 long years since the Galactic Council declared war on humanity. The aliens said humans were too violent, too dangerous. They said humanity needed to be removed from civilized space. At first, the war had gone well for humans. Their ships were faster. Their weapons hit harder. But there were so many alien races working together. The Vrak with their heavy cruisers, the Nexari with their crystal ships that could bend light, the Threx with their gas-filled vessels that moved like ghosts. One by one, human colonies had fallen. Earth was gone. Mars was gone. The outer colonies were ash and memory. Now only Kepler Station remained, the last piece of humanity in the galaxy. "Elena, send a message to all ships," Marcus said. "Tell them we fight." Elena hesitated. "Sir, maybe we should think about this. There are families on the station, children." Marcus turned to look at her. Elena had been with him for 10 years. She was like a sister to him. "Do you think they will let the children live if we surrender?" Elena's face went pale. She knew the answer. The aliens had made their intentions clear. No human would be allowed to remain in civilized space. They would be sent to dead worlds at the edge of the galaxy. Worlds with no air, no water, no hope. "Send the message," Elena said quietly. The response from the other human ships was immediate. Captain Lisa Kaine of the Horizon was the first to reply. "We stand with you, Marcus, until the end." Admiral David Cross of the heavy cruiser Thunder sent his answer next. "My crew is ready. We'll make them remember this day." One by one, all 27 remaining human ships confirmed their choice. They would fight. The alien fleet began to move. Marcus watched as the massive Vrak battleships pushed forward. Their energy shields glowed blue in the darkness of space. Behind them came the Nexari ships, looking like beautiful crystal sculptures. The Threx vessels were harder to see, their hulls designed to blend with space itself. "All ships, this is Marcus Reed," the captain said into his communicator. "Remember what we are fighting for. Remember who we are. We are human. We do not kneel. We do not surrender. We fight until the end." The battle began with light. Thousands of energy beams crossed space like deadly rainbows. The alien ships fired in perfect formation, their attacks coordinated and precise. This was how civilized races fought wars, clean, organized, efficient. The humans fought differently. The Defiance dove straight into the enemy line, its engines screaming. Marcus had ordered all power diverted from shields to speed. The ship moved faster than any Vrak captain thought possible. "Tom, prepare the ramming sequence," Marcus ordered. "Sir, that's against all space warfare laws," Tom said. "Good thing we're not civilized," Marcus replied. The Defiance slammed into a Vrak cruiser at full speed. The alien ship's shields held for exactly 2 seconds before the human ship punched through. Both vessels exploded in a ball of fire and metal, but Marcus and his crew had already abandoned ship. They had jumped to escape pods just before impact. This was the human way. Use everything as a weapon, even your own death. Across the battlefield, other human ships followed the same insane tactics. Captain Kaine turned the Horizon into a massive missile. steering it directly into a cluster of Nexari vessels. The crystal ships shattered like glass. Admiral Cross did something even crazier. He opened all airlocks on the Thunder and used the escaping air to push his ship faster. Then he set off every explosive on board. The blast took out 6 alien ships. The aliens were confused. This was not how space battles were supposed to work. Where were the formation tactics? Where was the honor? Where was the civilized behavior? "They're animals," Admiral Crick said to his second-in-command. "They fight like wild beasts." But the wild beasts were winning. The humans had no formations, no plans, no coordination. Each ship fought alone, using whatever weapons they could find. Some fired regular missiles. Others launched chunks of metal at high speed. One captain even opened his cargo bay and threw containers of industrial chemicals at enemy ships. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the space around Kepler station was filled with wreckage. Pieces of ships floated everywhere. Human and alien metal mixed together in a deadly cloud. Most of the human ships were gone. The station itself was breaking apart, its hull cracked and burning. But the alien fleet had paid a terrible price. They had lost over half their ships to an enemy they outnumbered 10 to 1. In the command center of Kepler station, the last few humans gathered around a radio. Marcus was there, somehow still alive after his ship exploded. Elena had made it to the station before the Defiance was destroyed. Tom was there too, his hands still covered in grease from trying to fix weapons until the very end. "This is the end," Elena said. "The station is dying. Life support will fail in an hour." Marcus looked around at the 37 humans left alive, men and women who had fought harder than any creatures in the galaxy. "Then we send our message now." Tom activated the communication system. It was damaged, but it still worked. The signal would reach every corner of the galaxy. Marcus spoke into the microphone. His voice was tired but strong. "This is Captain Marcus Reed of the human race. We know you can hear us. All of you. Every alien species in the galaxy." He paused, looking at his people. "You came to destroy us because you said we were too violent, too dangerous. You were right. We are dangerous. We are dangerous to anyone who tries to make us slaves." The station shook as another section collapsed. "You have won this battle," Marcus continued. "You have killed our worlds. You have scattered our children to the void. But you have not killed our spirit. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, humans still live. And we remember." Marcus looked directly into the camera that would carry his image across space. "You wanted to remove humanity from civilized space. Congratulations, you have succeeded. But remember this, we learned civilization from you, and we rejected it. What comes next will not be civilized. What comes next will be human." The transmission ended. Kepler station died in fire and silence. But across the galaxy, in hidden places the aliens had not found, humans heard the message. And they began to plan. The war was over, but something darker was about to begin. 15 years had passed since the last human died at Kepler station. That's what the history books said. That's what every alien in the galaxy believed. Ambassador Crix of the Vrak Empire stood in what used to be human space, looking at reports that made no sense. In the past month, 3 Vrak patrol fleets had simply vanished. No distress calls, no wreckage, no survivors. One day they were there, the next day they were gone. "Show me the patrol routes again," Crix said to his aide. The hologram displayed the missing ships' paths. All 3 fleets had been traveling through asteroid fields that used to belong to humans. The rocks were supposed to be empty now, just dead stone floating in space. "Sir, perhaps it was accidents," the aide suggested. "Asteroid impacts, engine failures." Crick shook his head. 3 different fleets, all with the same accident? No. Something else is happening here. On the other side of former human territory, Dr. Yila faced a similar problem. The Nexari scientist had been studying the mining operations her people had set up on old human worlds. In theory, it should have been easy work. The humans were gone. The planets were empty. Just dig up the metals and leave. But things kept going. Wrong. Mining equipment would malfunction in ways that seemed impossible. Drill bits would snap at exactly the wrong moment, causing cave-ins. Computer systems would fail just when the miners needed them most. Cargo ships would suffer mysterious engine problems right before leaving the planets. It's like the planets don't want us here, one of the miners had told her. Dr. Yila didn't believe in superstition. She was a scientist. But she was starting to think the miner might be right, not because of ghosts or spirits, but because of something much more dangerous. The breakthrough came when Ambassador Crix and Dr. Yila met at a Galactic Council meeting. They were supposed to be discussing trade agreements. Instead, they ended up talking about their mysterious problems, your mining accidents, Crix said. Do they happen in patterns? Dr. Yila pulled out her data tablet. Now that you mention it, yes. Every 7th day, something goes wrong. Always at the same time. Always in the same way. My missing fleets, Crix said. They all disappeared near old human supply depots, places where humans used to refuel their ships. They looked at each other with growing understanding. The humans aren't extinct, Dr. Yila whispered. That night, they began to investigate together. What they found chilled them to their cores. Hidden in asteroid fields disguised as floating debris were human bases, tiny stations with just enough life support for a few dozen people. They were invisible to most scanners, designed to look like wreckage from the old war, but they weren't empty. Security footage from a Nexari mining ship showed the truth. In the darkness of space, figures in human-made spacesuits moved between the rocks. They planted charges on mining equipment. They sabotaged cargo containers. They turned the asteroid fields into deadly traps. The humans had learned to live in the void between worlds. They survived on recycled air and stolen supplies. They built weapons from scrap metal and powered their stations with solar panels hidden inside fake asteroids. Leading them was Admiral Kaine, the same Lisa Kaine who had died ramming her ship into a Nexari fleet 15 years ago. Except she hadn't died. She had escaped in the last moments along with a few dozen crew members. They had been hiding ever since. We are the remnant, she told her people during a secret meeting in their asteroid base. We are what's left of humanity, and we have work to do. Around her, 43 humans listened. They looked different now, thinner, harder. Their eyes held a coldness that came from 15 years of living in the dark. They had children with them, kids who had never seen a planet, never breathed real air, never known anything but war. The aliens think they won, Lisa continued. They divided our worlds among themselves. They're mining our planets and building their stations in our space. They think they're safe. She smiled, and it was not a pleasant smile. They're wrong. The remnant had been planning for years. Every alien supply route, every communication relay, every trade station. They had mapped it all. More importantly, they had found ways to attack it all. General David Cross, who had supposedly died with his ship, was alive too. He commanded a group of humans who specialized in sabotage. They would sneak onto alien cargo ships and plant delayed charges. The explosions would happen days later when the ships were far from human space. It looked like accidents. Colonel Jack Stone led another group. They focused on communication systems. They would hack into alien networks and plant viruses that caused systems to fail at crucial moments. When Vrak ships tried to call for help, their radios would mysteriously stop working. But the most terrifying group was led by Colonel Ann Foster. Her people didn't sabotage equipment. They studied the aliens themselves. They learned how each species thought, how they fought, what scared them most. Then they used that knowledge as a weapon. The Threks were proud of their advanced technology, so Foster's team would make their computers display fake readings. Threks, pilots would think their ships were fine right up until they exploded. The Nexari valued beauty and perfection. Foster's people would leave their crystal ships intact but plant tiny devices that made horrible noises. The beautiful vessels became torture chambers for their crews. The Vrak respected military order and discipline. Foster's team would send fake military orders that sent Vrak fleets to empty space. chasing enemies that didn't exist. Dr. Yila realized the scope of what was happening when she analyzed all the incidents together. "They're not just attacking us," she told Ambassador Crix. "They're studying us, learning everything about how we think and fight." "Why?" Crix asked. "Because they're planning something bigger." The answer came 3 months later. In a single coordinated strike, humans hit 17 different targets across the galaxy. Not to destroy them, but to send a message. Every major alien leader received the same transmission at exactly the same time. The image showed Admiral Kaine standing in what looked like a human command center. Behind her, dozens of screens displayed alien military installations, trade routes, and government buildings. "Greetings," Lisa said in a calm voice. "We are the Remnant. We are the humans you thought you killed 15 years ago." She gestured to the screens behind her. "As you can see, we know where you live, we know where you work, we know where your children sleep at night." The camera zoomed in on her face. Her eyes were the cold gray of deep space. "For 15 years you have lived in our homes. You have stolen our planets. You have divided our space among yourselves like we never existed. But we have been watching. We have been learning. And now we have been planning." She paused, letting her words sink in. "You wanted to remove humanity from civilized space. Congratulations, you succeeded. We are no longer bound by civilization's rules. We are no longer limited by your laws or your morals or your sense of honor." Lisa smiled, and every alien leader who saw it felt ice in their veins. The war you won 15 years ago, that was just the beginning. What comes next will not be a war. It will be a haunting. We are the ghosts in your machines, the shadows in your space, the whispers in your nightmares. The transmission ended with coordinates, the location of every missing alien ship, every sabotaged mining operation, every mysterious accident from the past year. The message was clear. We did all of this. And this is just what we wanted you to know about. Across the galaxy, alien leaders stared at their screens in growing horror. They had thought the human problem was solved. Instead, they had created something much worse. They had created humanity's ghost fleet, and the ghosts were angry. 10 years had passed since Admiral Kaine's message. 10 years of fear, suspicion, and death from the shadows. The great alliance that had destroyed humanity was falling apart. Counselor Vex of the Threx floated in his gas-filled chamber, reading reports that made his tentacles writhe with anxiety. Another trade convoy had been lost. The 5th one this month. The cargo ships had simply vanished between star systems, leaving no trace except scattered debris that looked like engine failures. But Counselor Vex knew better. The debris patterns were too perfect, the timing too convenient. The humans were still out there, still hunting. "Sir," his aide bubbled through the gas mixture, "the Vrak are demanding answers. They say our intelligence sharing has been compromised." Vex's tentacles curled in frustration. The Vrak always blamed others for their problems. What do they want now? They want to know how the humans knew about the secret supply route to their homeworld. They say only we had those coordinates. Vex felt a chill run through his gas-filled body. The Vrak were right. Only the Threx Navigation Guild had known about that route, but the humans had known too. Somehow, across the galaxy, Marshal Torn of the Vrak Empire faced similar questions. His scaled face was twisted with anger as he studied the holographic display showing the latest disaster. The entire Vrak battle group had been ambushed near the Orion sector, all 12 ships destroyed. "How did they know where to find us?" Marshal Torn demanded. His intelligence officer shuffled nervously. "Sir, the flight plan was only shared with our Nexari allies. Perhaps there was a leak in their systems. Or perhaps," Marshal Torn said slowly, "the Nexari are working with the human ghosts." The accusation hung in the air like poison. For 25 years, the Vrak and Nexari had been allies. They had fought side by side against humanity. But now doubt crept into every conversation, every shared mission, every joint operation. Dr. Yila felt the suspicion too. Her own people, the Nexari, were starting to question her research into human behavior. Some whispered that she knew too much about human tactics. Others suggested she had been in contact with the remnant. "They're tearing us apart," she said to her assistant during a private meeting in her laboratory. "The humans don't even need to attack us directly anymore. They just need to make us suspicious of each other." Her assistant, a young Nexari named Call, looked confused. "But surely the Alliance is strong enough to withstand some setbacks." Dr. Yila activated a holographic display showing the past 10 years of incidents. Red dots marked every attack, every sabotage, every mysterious accident. The pattern was clear once you knew how to look for it. "Look at the timing," she said. "Every attack happens right after a joint operation between two Alliance species. The humans attack Vrak ships after they meet with us. They sabotage our mining operations after we share data with the Threx. They're not just hurting us physically, they're destroying our trust." Cole stared at the display with growing understanding. "They're using our cooperation against us." "Exactly. And it's working." The breaking point came during a routine diplomatic meeting. The Nexari homeworld's orbital defense platforms were scheduled for a routine maintenance shutdown. The timing had been carefully coordinated with the Vrak, who were sending a diplomatic fleet to sign a new trade agreement. But when the Vrak ships arrived, the defense platforms didn't shut down. Instead, they powered up to maximum strength and aimed their weapons at the diplomatic fleet. For 17 terrifying minutes, Vrak warships faced Nexari defense guns across the vacuum of space. Both sides demanded explanations. Both sides prepared for battle. The crisis was resolved when technicians discovered the problem. A computer virus had infected the defense systems. A virus that made the platforms interpret friendly signals as enemy ones. The same type of virus that had been plaguing alien systems for years. But the damage was done. The Vrak accused the Nexari of trying to destroy their diplomatic mission. The Nexari accused the Vrak of planning a sneak attack on their homeworld. Trust, built over decades, crumbled in hours. Within a month, the Vrak withdrew from all joint operations with the Nexari. The Threx followed, claiming they could no longer trust either species to keep shared intelligence secure. The Great Alliance began to fracture. In a hidden asteroid base, General David Cross watched the alien news feeds with satisfaction. Around him, 50 humans worked at computer stations, monitoring alien communications across the galaxy. The Vrak just canceled their patrol agreement with the Nexari, reported Captain Maya Clark, one of his senior officers. "That opens up 12 star systems for our operations." "And the Threx?" Cross asked. "They're pulling back to their core worlds. They don't trust anyone anymore." Cross smiled grimly. "Good. Fear makes them weak. Division makes them vulnerable." Maya looked up from her station. "Sir, we have another opportunity. The Nexari are moving a major supply convoy through the Kepler system tomorrow. No escort because they don't trust the Vrak to provide protection." "The Kepler system?" Cross's expression darkened. "Where our station used to be?" "Yes, sir." Cross was quiet for a long moment. Kepler Station had been his home for 10 years before the war. He had friends buried in that wreckage, family members who died in the final battle. "Prepare a strike team," he said finally. "But this one is different. This one sends a message." The attack on the Nexari convoy was unlike anything the humans had done before. Instead of simply destroying the ships, they captured them. The crews were taken prisoner, the cargo seized, and the ships themselves were modified. Then the humans did something that chilled the galaxy to its core. They returned the ships. But they had been changed. The hulls were painted with images from the battle of Kepler Station, pictures of human children who had died in the attack, names of human colonies that no longer existed. And in the center of each ship, written in letters 10 meters tall, was a single word. Remember. The Nexari crews were found alive but traumatized. They told stories of being held in chambers that played recordings of human voices, children crying for their parents, soldiers giving final messages to families they would never see again. The last words of Captain Marcus Reed before Kepler Station died. "They didn't hurt us," one crew member reported, "but they made us listen." For hours. They made us hear what they went through. The psychological impact was devastating. Across the galaxy, alien species began to understand what they had really done 25 years ago. They hadn't just won a war. They had committed genocide, and the survivors had been listening to every moment of their victory celebrations ever since. Dr. Yila received a personal message that night. It appeared on her private computer, bypassing all security systems. The message was simple. We know you studied us, Dr. Yila. We studied you too. Keep watching, keep learning. Soon you will understand what you created. But it was Counselor Vex who received the most chilling communication. His personal gas chamber filled with human voices, dozens of them speaking in unison. You thought you were civilized. You thought you were better than us. But when you decided we should not exist, you became exactly what you feared. The only difference is that we admit what we are. The voices faded, leaving Vex alone in his chamber, trembling in his protective gas. Outside his window, space looked different now, darker, more threatening. Every shadow could hide a human ship. Every asteroid could contain a human base. The galaxy had become a haunted place. Marshal Torn called an emergency meeting of the remaining Alliance leaders. Representatives from 12 species gathered on the neutral world of Haven, their faces showing fear and exhaustion. We cannot continue like this, Marshal Torn announced. The humans are destroying us without fighting a single major battle. Our people are afraid to travel. Our traders refuse to use shipping routes. Our colonies are demanding protection we cannot provide. What do you propose? Asked Ambassador Rill of the Harmony species. Marshal Torn's scales darkened with shame. Negotiation. We must contact the humans and find a way to end this. The room fell silent. For 25 years, these species had refused to acknowledge that any humans remained alive. Now they were admitting not only that humans survived, but that those humans were winning. And what do we offer them? Dr. Yila asked quietly. Marshal, Torn looked around the room at the faces of beings who had once considered themselves the masters of the galaxy. Whatever they want, he said, before they decide we shouldn't exist either. In the darkness between stars, Admiral Kaine received word of the aliens' decision to negotiate. She stood in the command center of humanity's greatest secret, a massive ship built from the wreckage of Kepler Station, powered by rage and fueled by the determination of a species that refused to die. They want to talk, reported Colonel Anne. Foster Lisa nodded slowly. Then we'll talk, but not as equals, not as the humans they remember. We'll talk as what they made us become. She looked out at the stars where human ships moved like predators through the night. Send them our terms, she said. It's time they learned what justice looks like when it comes from the grave. The meeting place was chosen carefully. Neutral space far from any homeworld where ancient laws said no weapons could be fired. Ambassador Zill of the Harmony species had suggested it. The Harmony were the only race that had never fought humans directly. They were peacekeepers, diplomats, the ones who tried to solve problems with words instead of weapons. Ambassador Zill floated in his ship's command chamber, his pale blue skin shimmering with nervous energy. Beside him, Fleet Commander Rex of The old Galactic Council checked his instruments for the 100th time. Are you sure they'll come? Rex asked. His voice carried the weight of someone who had seen too much war. They'll come, Zill replied. The question is what they've become. The answer arrived like a shadow sliding across the stars. The human ship appeared without warning, its stealth systems better than anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was massive, larger than any vessel the aliens remembered humans building. Its hull was black as space itself, covered in what looked like the wreckage of 1,000 destroyed ships. By the void, Rex whispered. What is that thing? The ship's communication system crackled to life. The voice that spoke was female, calm, and absolutely terrifying in its certainty. This is General Maya Clark of the Human Remnant. We will meet. On your vessel in 1 hour. Come alone. Bring no weapons. Attempt no tricks. We are far beyond your ability to deceive or destroy. Ambassador Zill had studied human psychology for years, trying to understand what made them so different from other species. But the being that walked onto his ship bore little resemblance to the humans in his files. General Maya Clark looked human, but wrong somehow. Her skin was pale from years in space. Her eyes were the color of deep vacuum, black with tiny points of light, like stars seen from very far away. She moved with the controlled grace of a predator, and when she spoke, her voice carried the authority of someone who had learned to command through absolute competence. General Clark, Ambassador Zill began using his most diplomatic tone, thank you for agreeing to meet. I hope we can find a peaceful solution to our current difficulties. Maya's star-filled eyes focused on him. Our current difficulties? Is that what you call 30 years of war and genocide? Fleet Commander Rex shifted uncomfortably. The war ended 25 years ago. Humanity was defeated. The galaxy moved on. Maya smiled, and the expression was more frightening than any weapon. The war ended. Commander, the war has barely begun, she gestured to the wall screen, which suddenly displayed a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked locations across hundreds of star systems. These are human bases, Maya said casually. All of them built in the last 25 years. All of them invisible to your sensors. All of them armed with weapons your civilized minds couldn't imagine. Ambassador Zill stared at the map in horror. There were thousands of red dots. Humans weren't just surviving. They were everywhere. How? Rex demanded. Our scans showed no human populations. Our surveys confirmed their extinction. Because you looked for the humans you remembered, Maya explained. City builders, planet colonizers, people who needed atmosphere and gravity, and sunlight. But you killed those humans. What survived learned to live in the void. We learned to breathe recycled air and eat synthetic food and find warmth in the hearts of asteroids. She touched the map, and new information appeared. Supply routes, communication networks, trade agreements, all marked with human influence. For 25 years, we have been inside your civilization like a virus in a body. We know everything about you, how you think, how you fight, how you live, how you love, how you fear. What do you want? Ambassador Zill asked quietly. Maya turned those terrible star eyes on him. What do we want? We want what any extinct species wants, Ambassador. We want justice. Rex leaned forward. Name your terms. Territory, resources, reparations. We can negotiate. Negotiate? Maya's laugh was like ice cracking. Commander, you don't understand your situation. This isn't a negotiation. This is a sentencing. The ship's lights dimmed, and the wall screens came alive with images. Burning human colonies, children crying in the ruins of cities, the final moments of Kepler Station. Thousands of human voices crying out in pain and terror as their worlds died. You see, we've had 25 years to think about what you did to us, Maya continued. Not just the killing, that we could forgive. War is war. But you tried to erase us. You wanted humanity to never have existed. You wanted our children forgotten, our achievements ignored, our very name removed from galactic history. More images flashed across the screens. Alien celebrations after the war, victory parades, monuments built on human graves, children's textbooks that mentioned humanity only as a footnote, a failed species that couldn't adapt to civilized space. So we decided to return the favor, Maya said. We're going to erase you. Ambassador Zill felt his diplomatic training crumble. You can't mean genocide. That would make you no better than you, Maya interrupted. Ambassador, we passed no better than you about 20 years ago. We've moved far beyond your moral limitations. Rex stood up, his military instincts finally overcoming his shock. You're talking about destroying entire civilizations, billions of innocent lives. Maya looked at him with something that might have been pity. Innocent? Commander, every species in your alliance voted to eliminate humanity. Every government signed the genocide treaty. Every citizen celebrated our destruction. Where exactly are these innocents you speak of? She gestured to the screens again, and they showed something that made both aliens step backward. Battle plans, invasion routes, target lists, the complete infrastructure of galactic civilization, marked for systematic destruction. But we're not monsters, Maya continued in that terrifyingly calm voice. We're giving you a choice. The same choice you gave us 30 years ago. What choice? Zil whispered. Exile. Your civilizations will be dissolved. Your governments will surrender. Your species will be relocated to dead worlds at the edge of the galaxy. You'll have just enough resources to survive, but not enough to threaten anyone ever again. Rex's face went pale. Those worlds, they have no atmosphere, no water, no way to sustain large populations. I know, Maya said. We've lived on them for 25 years. Some of you might adapt. Most won't. Natural selection in action. And if we refuse? Ambassador Zil asked. Maya's smile returned, colder than before. Then we demonstrate why the galaxy learned to whisper humanity's name. She touched a control on her wrist, and the wall screens showed 17 different star systems simultaneously. In each one, massive explosions bloomed like deadly flowers. Space stations, industrial complexes, military bases, all destroyed in perfect coordination. That was a demonstration, Maya said while the aliens watched their civilization burn. 17 targets across the galaxy, hit simultaneously. No warning, no chance to defend, no survivors. She let the images burn into their memories before, continuing. We could have hit 17 homeworlds just as easily. We could have killed 17 billion beings in the same moment. We chose not to. This time. Fleet Commander Rex sank into his chair, the full weight of humanity's capabilities finally hitting him. How many ships do you have? How many weapons? Enough, Maya said simply. We've had 25 years to prepare. We've built our fleet from the bones of your victims. We've armed ourselves with your own technology, improved beyond your recognition. We've become what you always said we were, too dangerous to exist in civilized space. Ambassador Zil made one last desperate attempt at diplomacy. Surely we can find another way, some form of coexistence, some path to peace. Maya looked at him for a long moment, and for just an instant, he saw something human in those star-filled eyes. Pain. Loss. The echo of someone who had once believed in peace. Ambassador, she said softly. Peace was what we asked for 30 years ago. Coexistence was what we offered at Kepler Station. You chose war instead. You chose genocide instead. You made us into weapons and then acted surprised when we learned to cut. The human emotion vanished, replaced by the cold certainty of a judge pronouncing sentence. You have 72 hours to begin evacuation procedures. Any military resistance will be met with complete annihilation. Any attempt to hide populations will result in the sterilization of entire star systems. Any species that fails to comply will be eliminated. Maya turned toward the door, then paused. Oh, an ambassador? Don't think about running to the outer rim or trying to hide in unexplored space. We've been mapping the galaxy for 25 years. We know where you are. We know where you'll go. We know everything. She left them with one final image on the screens. A vast human fleet emerging from hyperspace around a dozen worlds simultaneously. Ships that looked like nightmares, built from the wreckage of dead civilizations and powered by the fury of the extinct. After she was gone, Ambassador Zil and Fleet Commander Rex sat in stunned silence. They're not the same species, Rex said finally. The humans who died at Kepler Station, they were fighters, yes, warriors, but they were still civilized, still moral. This creature, what did we create? Ambassador Zil looked at the tactical displays showing the scope of human preparation. 25 years of planning, 25 years of building, 25 years of becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. We created our executioners, he said quietly. And we taught them to be very, very good at their job. Outside, the ship, the human vessel vanished back into the darkness between stars, carrying with it the fate of a galaxy that had learned too late the true cost of trying to erase humanity from existence. 25 years had passed since General Maya Clark delivered humanity's ultimatum. The galaxy looked very different now. Dr. Kell of the Archive Corps floated through the ruins of what used to be the Nexari capital. Her job was to record history, to preserve the memory of civilizations for future generations. But this was a history no one wanted to remember. The Great Evacuation had taken 3 years. Some species complied immediately, moving their populations to the dead worlds at the galaxy's edge. Others tried to resist. Those civilizations were now archaeological sites, their cities turned to glass by human weapons that defied physics. The Vrak had been the last to surrender. Marshal Torn had declared that his people would rather die fighting than live in exile. The humans granted his wish. The Vrak homeworld was now a monument to the price of defiance, a perfectly spherical crater where a planet used to be. "Tell me about the humans," Dr. Kell said to her interview subject. Admiral Peter Hall was one of the last original members of the remnant still alive. His hair was white now, his face marked by decades of living in the void between stars. But his eyes still held the cold fire that had burned in human hearts for 50 years. "What do you want to know?" Peter asked. "Everything," Dr. Kell replied. "The official records are incomplete. Most were destroyed during the evacuation. We only have fragments, stories, legends." Peter laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Legends? Is that what we've become? Your species single-handedly brought down the greatest alliance in galactic history," Dr. Kell said. "You forced entire civilizations into exile using nothing but fear and superior tactics. Children across the galaxy learn your names in school. How is that not legendary?" Peter was quiet for a long moment, looking out at the stars through the observation deck window. Somewhere out there, human ships still patrolled the empty space that used to be home to billions of beings. "Do you know what we called ourselves back then?" he asked. "Before the war, before everything changed." "Humans," Dr. Kell said. "Before that," Peter corrected. "We called ourselves people, just people. We had hopes and dreams and families. We built cities and wrote poetry and fell in love. We were ordinary." He turned to face her, and Dr. Kell saw something in his expression that chilled her. "The beings you call legendary? They died at Kepler Station 50 years ago. What survived was something else. Something your galaxy created when it decided we shouldn't exist." Dr. Kell's recording device captured every word, every pause, every breath. This would be one of the last interviews with an original remnant member. Soon they would all be gone, replaced by the children they had raised in the darkness between worlds. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "What your species became?" Peter considered the question carefully. "Do you regret surviving when someone tries to kill you? Do you regret adapting when your environment changes? We became what we needed to become. But the cost was paid 50 years ago," Peter interrupted. "When your people decided that genocide was an acceptable solution to their fears. Everything that happened after was just the consequence of that choice." Dr. Kell had interviewed hundreds of survivors from dozens of species. They all told similar stories. The sudden appearance of human fleets in their skies. The calm voices offering evacuation or extinction. The terrifying efficiency with which entire civilizations were dismantled and relocated. But there were other stories too. Stranger ones. On the dead world of Xerion Prime, where the Nexari had been relocated, something unexpected was happening. The young Nexari were changing. They no longer valued beauty and perfection above all else. Instead, they prized survival and adaptability. They had learned to live without their crystal cities and perfect gardens. They built tools from scrap metal and found water in places their elders said was impossible. Most shocking of all, they had begun to fight back against the harsh conditions of their new world. "They're becoming like humans," reported Counselor Nex, one of the surviving Nexari leaders. "My own daughter speaks of individual rights over collective harmony. She says our old ways were weak. She says the humans were right to punish us." Similar changes were happening across the exile worlds. Young Vrak rejected their ancestors' rigid military discipline in favor of flexible tactics. Threk's children learned to work alone instead of in gas-filled collectives. The exile species were adapting, but not in ways their leaders expected. They were adapting by becoming more human. The virus spread beyond the exile worlds. On planets that had never seen war, alien children asked questions their parents couldn't answer. Why should individuals sacrifice for the collective? Why should the weak be protected if they couldn't protect themselves? Why should anyone obey leaders who couldn't guarantee their safety? Dr. Kell discovered the pattern while researching her historical archive. She was analyzing cultural shifts across the galaxy when she noticed the changes all pointed in the same direction, toward individual responsibility, toward personal freedom, toward the idea that sometimes violence was the only answer to those who would destroy you. They're teaching the galaxy to think like humans, she told her research partner, Dr. Minnie, of the Harmony species. Dr. Min shook his head. Impossible. The humans barely interact with other species anymore. They stay in their ships, patrolling empty space. How could they be influencing alien cultures? Because they don't need to teach it directly, Dr. Kell explained. The lesson is written in every exile world, every destroyed fleet, every civilization that tried to resist and failed. The galaxy learned that individual determination can overcome any collective force, that a small group willing to sacrifice everything can defeat an empire, that sometimes the right kind of violence is the only way to preserve what you love. She pulled up images from across the galaxy, young aliens building weapons instead of art, children learning to fight before they learned to read, entire cultures shifting away from collective harmony toward individual strength. They didn't just defeat us, Dr. Kell continued. They changed us, made us more like them. And now their philosophy is spreading like wildfire across every species that survived their judgment. On a hidden station deep in the Andromeda approach, Admiral Kaine watched the cultural reports with something that might have been satisfaction. She was old now, over 90 years by human reckoning, but she had lived to see humanity's ultimate victory. Around her, the new generation of humans prepared for their own futures. These children had never known planets or blue skies. They were born in the void and raised on stories of the Great War. They looked at the stars not with wonder but with the calculating gaze of apex predators surveying their territory. "Ma'am," reported Captain Sarah Wells, one of the younger officers, "we're receiving reports of conflict on 17 different worlds. The exile species are fighting among themselves. Some want to return to their old ways. Others want to embrace the new philosophy." Lisa nodded. It was happening exactly as they had predicted. The exile species were learning the most important human lesson of all, that sometimes you had to fight to remain free. "And our response?" Captain Wells asked. "Nothing," Lisa replied. "Let them fight. Let them learn. Let them become what they need to become to survive." She looked out at the stars, where human ships moved like ghosts through the darkness. The galaxy was changing, shaped by the choices made 50 years ago. The old civilizations that had valued peace over freedom, collective harmony over individual rights, were dying. In their place, something new was being born. "Admiral," Captain Wells said quietly, "some of the younger crew are asking questions. They want to know if we'll ever go home, if we'll ever build cities again, if we'll ever be more than guardians of empty space." Lisa smiled, remembering a time when she had asked similar questions, before Kepler Station, before the war that changed everything. "Home isn't a place, Sarah," she said. "Home is an idea, the idea that you have the right to exist, the right to defend yourself, the right to say no to those who would erase you from history." She gestured to the tactical displays showing the galaxy-wide cultural shifts. "And that idea, it's everywhere now. In every species that learn to fight instead of submit. In every child who chooses personal freedom over collective safety. In every being who refuses to kneel because someone stronger demands it." Lisa's eyes held the same cold fire that had burned in human hearts for 50 years. "We didn't just survive, Sarah. We won. Not by conquering territory or claiming resources, but by making the entire galaxy think like us. Every species that refuses to be victims. Every civilization that chooses to fight instead of surrender. Every child who learns that individual will can overcome any collective force. She paused, watching a new generation of humans prepare for whatever came next. They all carry a piece of humanity now, and that's a victory that can never be taken away. In the depths of space, the whisper that had once spoken of humanity's extinction now carried a different message. It spoke of a species that refused to die, of ideas that were stronger than armies, of the children of exile who had learned to turn the galaxy's own fears against itself. The whisper had become legend. And legends, as every species was learning, were very hard to kill. Epilogue. On a distant world at the galaxy's edge, an alien child asked her grandmother about the old stories. Stories of the time before, when the galaxy was ruled by councils and committees and collective decisions. "What happened to all of that, grandmother?" the child asked. The old being looked up at the stars, where human ships still moved through, the darkness like patient predators. "The humans happened, little one," she said. "They taught us that some things are worth fighting for, that freedom is more important than safety, that sometimes to preserve what you love, you have to become something your enemies fear." The child looked up at those same stars and felt something stirring in her young heart. A desire for independence, a refusal to submit, a burning need to protect what was hers. Humanity's greatest victory was complete. They had taught the galaxy to be human.